The Caldwell Group's quarterly review in downtown Chicago was less about strategy and more about status, especially when the family was involved. I stood at the threshold of the marble-lined boardroom on the 47th floor, watching my cousin Lucas arrange folders like he was preparing a royal banquet. He didn't even glance up. "Oh, Belle," he sighed, annoyed. Overflows down the hall. Storage room past the supply closet. This room's for key stakeholders only. I looked down at my cream-colored pantsuit, tailored Dior, sharp and intentional. Inside my leather satchel, a file that could rewrite this entire meeting. Stakeholders, I echoed. You know, he smirked. Actual contributors. My Aunt Nain, always polished and passive-aggressive, chimed in. This isn't really the place for lifestyle bloggers. Lifestyle blogger. That was the label they'd slapped on me after I left the company at 31, years ago, to start something silly on the side. They didn't know that something had become Orion Ventures, a silent giant that now controlled half their company. Lucas chuckled. Hope you like filing cabinets. You might be sharing space with the janitor today. He didn't know that an hour earlier, my assistant had confirmed Orion acquired the final 4%, putting me at 51% control of Caldwell Group via shell companies and trust networks. They had no clue that I was Orion. We're starting in 10, Nain said, eyes glinting. I'm presenting the Griffin deal myself. Griffin, the $80 million tech firm. I almost laughed. Griffin's CEO had called me yesterday, finalizing the agreement with Orion directly. They just didn't know whose hand they'd been shaking. How's the hustle treating you? Lucas asked with mock concern. Still renting that shoebox office by the river? That shoebox was actually the entry point to one of Orion Ventures' portfolio accelerators. My real headquarters, a glass-walled, 5-story innovation hub on Lake Michigan with a rooftop helipad and a private floor for visiting global partners. I get by, I said with a polite smile, adjusting the strap of my briefcase. Storage rooms that way, Aunt Nain chimed in, motioning down the hall. Let's keep distractions to a minimum, Belle. This is a serious meeting. I nodded once and walked down the corridor, not as the overlooked niece they thought I was, but as the majority stakeholder of everything they were scrambling to save. We've got real business on the table, Nain said behind me. I stepped into the so-called storage room, closing the door gently behind me. The space was cramped, musty, and filled with old promotional banners and unopened printer toner boxes, a perfect mirror of how they saw me irrelevant, pushed aside, boxed up. 5 years ago, I stood exactly where Nain stood now, presenting quarterly vision decks, building investor confidence, and trying to make Caldwell Group progressive. Back then, I was 30. I still believed in family legacy. Then I uncovered the files. Unsafe supplier practices hidden in tax footnotes, reports of bribery buried under consulting fees, fraudulent environmental reports passed off as minor infractions. I took them to Uncle Garrett. He barely blinked. That's the cost of staying competitive, Belle. If that bothers you, maybe you're not executive material. So I walked. I used the inheritance my mother left me, money she built before marrying into the Caldwell empire, and founded Orion Ventures in her name, Olivia Rena Caldwell. She once told me, legacy is what you build when no one's watching. And I did, ethically, strategically, quietly. While Caldwell Group rotted behind polish, Orion expanded, rebuilding what they'd broken. And now I wasn't here for a reunion. I was here to take back everything they thought I'd abandoned. Caldwell Group was bleeding trust. Key clients were pulling out. Revenue had stalled. Market confidence was evaporating. They didn't realize the rescue was coming from me. I settled between forgotten filing cabinets and old branded mugs, flipping open my laptop. Through the thin drywall, voices buzzed. Nain laughed too loudly. Lucas flexed his vocabulary like a resume. Mr. Griffin, we're extremely optimistic about your alignment with our long-term vision, she gushed. I nearly laughed. Griffin Technologies wasn't here for Caldwell. They were here for Orion, for me. The very proposal Nain thought she was presenting had already been executed, signed under my name, with terms she'd never see coming. My phone vibrated. From Maya, my assistant. Legal is on standby. Proxy votes confirmed. Board leadership aligned. Just say the word. I stared up at the buzzing fluorescent light overhead. Fitting. In this dusty room where they'd stashed me, I was about to take everything they thought they owned. Another ping. Maya, Mr. Griffin asked if you want him to keep playing along or drop the act. I typed back, let it play out, but make sure he doesn't sign anything Nain hands him. Right then, the door creaked open. It was Camille, my Uncle Garrett's third wife, barely older than I was, swathed in head-to-toe designer with a voice that belonged on reality TV. "You've cleansed," she said. "Don't close the door. Your typing's echoing in the hallway." I smiled. Of course. She left without a thank you, completely unaware that her ironclad prenup had already been flagged, purchased, and filed by one of Orion's subsidiaries, along with documented evidence of her little getaways with her golf coach. Through the wall, I heard Garrett begin. "Welcome, everyone," he boomed. "Caldwell Group is excited to explore select strategic alliances." Strategic alliances? Translation, we're drowning. Please invest. Truth was, they were $200 million in the red. The only thing keeping them afloat was me, and I wasn't here to save them. I was here to take over. Coincidentally, that was exactly what Orion Ventures had offered under very specific terms. I glanced at my screen. Caldwell Group stock had dipped another 2.1% since the market opened. Right on cue. Through the thin walls, Nain's voice sparkled with fake enthusiasm as she wrapped up her pitch to Griffin Technologies. "And with Mr. Griffin's support," she declared, "we'll be able to scale across the Midwest tech quarter and beyond." Then came his voice, measured, clear. "Actually," said Mr. Griffin, "I'm not here for that proposal." Silence. "I'm here to speak with the CEO of Orion Ventures." I could practically hear Nain's lipstick crack. "I'm sorry," she stammered, "but this was arranged through Caldwell." "It was," Griffin replied calmly. "But Orion now holds a controlling interest in Caldwell Group and in several of your partner firms, including my own." "That's absurd," Garrett barked. "We'd know if someone was buying us out." I stood up, adjusted the cuff of my ivory blazer, and opened the storage room door. "Would you?" I asked, stepping into the stunned boardroom. "Like you knew your safety audits were forged, or that your subcontractors in Jakarta are under investigation for wage theft, or that your biggest clients signed with a firm that values transparency?" A heavy silence blanketed the room. Every head turned, and for the first time in half a decade, they didn't see the niece who left. They saw the woman who owned the company. Nain's cheeks went ghost white. Lucas dropped the gold-plated pen he always flaunted like a trophy. Uncle Garrett stiffened, mouth slightly agape, caught between disbelief and the creeping realization of what was unfolding. "There must be some mistake," he said, voice low, grasping for control. "This is for the best news," he added, almost pleading. "But they will hear our conversation," I said, stepping fully into the room, heels echoing softly on the marble tile. "Perhaps we should start this meeting again. It's not exactly proper etiquette to leave your majority shareholder in the storage room." The room fell into stunned silence. I walked to the head of the table and calmly placed my briefcase down, a quiet, deliberate click as the latches opened. "Orion Ventures," I began, watching Garrett's jaw clench tighter with every word, "now holds 51% of Caldwell Group stock." No one spoke. "We also control the majority position in 3 of your 5 core suppliers. We've secured your primary financing line, and as of this morning, we have exclusive contracts with over 80% of your top clients." "That's impossible," Nain stammered. "Orion's run by me," I said, cutting in. "It has been since I left Caldwell Group 5 years ago. Not that any of you noticed. You were too busy rearranging numbers and posturing in boardrooms to see who was quietly buying your future out from underneath you." Lucas sputtered first. "But you're a freelancer. You work out of some rented space downtown." I smiled. One of our research hubs, yes. I connected my laptop to the screen at the front of the room. My actual office is in Sterling Tower, the one that literally casts a shadow over this building. Charts filled the screen. Declining revenue, surging legal risk, vanishing clients. Let's begin, I said. Since I left, Caldwell stock has dropped 60%. You're under EPA investigation, and the Department of Labor is preparing subpoenas. Now, wait a minute, Garrett barked, trying to regain control. I have been, I said sharply. While you were grooming Nain and Lucas to whitewash reports and shut down whistleblowers, I was building something that works. Mr. Griffin gave a quiet nod. That's why our contract went to Orion. They have a code, and they keep it. Ethics don't pay payroll, Nain snapped, though her voice was cracking. Actually, I said, advancing the slide, they do. Orion's profit margins are 30% above the industry average because when you respect your workers, your vendors, and the law, the returns come back with interest. I handed out neatly labeled folders. Inside is Orion's proposal for Caldwell Group's future. We're prepared to inject $200 million in capital, the exact figure your quarterly reports needed. Garrett's eyes narrowed now, his instincts kicking in. And what do you want? Control, I said evenly. Full operational authority. The Caldwell family retains 20% ownership, but all executive decisions will go through Orion's board. I let the word settle before adding, which means this company and this family are about to change. Lucas let out a brittle laugh. You're bluffing. Nain, tell her she can't do this. She's not bluffing, Mr. Griffin interrupted. Miss Caldwell holds 51%, and with the proxy votes in hand, she controls this company. She's entirely within her rights. I clicked to the next slide, a devastating timeline. OSHA violations, fines, wrongful terminations, offshore labor abuse, 10 years of rot. The choice is yours, I said. Accept our proposal and let us rebuild, or let this house of cards fall. Nain's lips trembled. You destroy your own family. This isn't destruction, I said. It's redemption. Orion restores what people like you ruined. We're just starting with ours. Uncle Garrett stood slowly. The fire in his eyes hadn't gone out, but something else had appeared behind it, something that looked a lot like respect. You planned this, he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. All of it. The quiet resignation, the shell companies, the client acquisitions. I met his eyes without blinking. I learned from the best, Uncle. You taught me everything about power plays. Then I softened. But you didn't teach me how to lead. That I learned from Mom. He flinched at the mention of her name, Olivia Rena Caldwell, his sister, who had been the conscience of this company. After her passing, it hadn't taken long for her vision to be stripped from every boardroom agenda. Until now. I slid a folder across the table, crisp and unyielding. The documents need to be signed today, I said. Your creditors are circling. So is the EPA. And as of 15 minutes ago, the press. Nain clung to Garrett's arm. You can't let her do this. We'll find another investor. Can you? I tilted my head. Check your phones. Across the table, screens lit up in near unison. A headline flashed across every device. Orion Ventures declares majority ownership of Caldwell Group. Immediate restructuring imminent. They'd be lucky if their brand still carried any goodwill. The room dissolved into chaos, frantic whispers, vibrating phones, darting glances. Lucas collapsed into his chair, all color drained. Nain blinked at the screen, stunned. Garrett sat in stony silence, holding the contract, and for once, he actually read it. His fingers trembled slightly as he reached the final page. You'll keep the Caldwell name? He asked finally. The name, yes, I said, but not the practices that tarnished it. I met his gaze head-on. It's time for Caldwell Group to stand for more than unchecked profit. He let out a long breath and nodded. Then, slowly, deliberately, he picked up the pen. Wait, Nain's voice cracked. What about us? Your positions are secure, I said clearly. If you're willing to learn, Orion offers full training in ethical governance and sustainable leadership. I paused. Or you can walk away with your 20% equity and chart a different future. You'd really fire your own family? Lucas asked, stunned. I'd really expect them to earn their seats, I replied, like every other Orion employee. The contracts were signed by the hour's end. As the room emptied, Mr. Griffin approached with a quiet, knowing handshake. Masterfully done, he said. Your mother would be proud. I looked across the boardroom. Nain, Lucas, and Garrett lingered in the corner, silent, shaken, the empire they once ruled slipping through their fingers. A part of me ached for them, but a larger part knew this was justice. The months that followed were transformational. Caldwell Group's toxic practices were dismantled piece by piece. Wages were restructured fairly. Employee protections became standard. Sustainability became policy, not just PR. To her credit, Nain surprised us all. She enrolled in ESG leadership programs, earned certifications, and became an asset in Orion's corporate responsibility division. Lucas took longer, but eventually, his charisma was repurposed. He led our community engagement arm, restoring trust where his name had once cast doubt. Garrett stepped down as CEO but remained on as a senior advisor. Over time, even he admitted that what I built didn't destroy his legacy, it elevated it. 1 year later, I stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office in Sterling Tower, watching the lights of downtown Chicago flicker like embers across the skyline. In the distance, the Caldwell Group building still stood, but now it bore something new beneath its name, a silver seal reading certified by Orion, Ethical Enterprise. A quiet knock at the door. Your uncle's here for the quarterly review, Maya said, stepping in with a smile. And Nain just joined him. She's got the latest reports on the worker safety reforms. Send them in, I replied, already turning from the window. As they entered, not into a storage room, but into my office, I let myself reflect on just how far we'd come. Legacy, I realized, isn't defined by what you're given. It's defined by what you choose to build. Ready to go over numbers? Garrett asked, this time with no sarcasm, just sincere interest. I gestured to the round table at the center of the room, every chair equal, every voice valued. Always, I said. That's the difference when people know they matter. Under Orion's guidance, Caldwell Group had transformed. Clean audits, record-breaking profits, worker retention at an all-time high. The press stopped asking if we could balance ethics and success and started asking how. And if anyone joked about sending someone to the storage closet again, they were reminded of the day the woman in the corner turned out to own the building. Sometimes, the clearest view of success starts in the shadows. You just have to know when to open the door. If you've stayed with me through this story, thank you. I didn't share it for praise. I shared it because I know what it feels like to be dismissed, to be underestimated, to be told, sit quietly over there. So, if my story resonates, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. Tell me which moment struck a chord or how you faced your own storage room, because we grow stronger when we speak. And if you believe in standing tall even when no one claps, subscribe, not for me, for you, for the reminder that your voice matters. That quiet resilience is louder than any title. Here's my advice. Don't wait for permission. Use the silence. Use the rejection. Let every door that's shut in your face remind you to build your own. And when that door is ready, open it. Step through, not for vengeance, but for truth, for purpose. Because we deserve more than survival. We deserve to lead. Let's keep rising.